to Horsefly Chronicles Radio with Julia and Philip Siracusa, sponsored by Carnation, airing live on the United Public Radio Network on 105.3 FM in New Orleans. This show's entrance has been edited, produced, and directed by Gwen Clapper from Perfect Trust Productions, LLC. You can find us at perfecttrustproductions.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday night's segment of Horsefly Chronicles Radio with myself, Julia Siracusa, and Philip Siracusa. We're broadcasting live from the International Public Radio and the United Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 FM from New Orleans. This evening's show is fully sponsored by Carnation, so we want to thank them for their sponsorship. We love them. You will have to do a few things in order to participate. Go over to the YouTube channel, UFO Paranormal Radio or International Public Radio. You can also go into all of the Facebook stations, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, UFO Undercover with Joe Montaldo, News on the Flip Side, also Twitch, SoundCloud, Podbean. Also go over to our group, Horsefly Chronicles Radio, and join if you haven't. And if you have any questions for our guest, please ask. Tonight, guys, we have an amazing guest. So please welcome to our show, Brandon Crotti. Brandon is the lead investigator for the TV show Paranormal in the Funhouse, nominated for Best Ghost Hunting Series of 2020. As of right now, they are filming their season 3 of their TV series, which is on Powerflix, Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, Fire Stick, and Facebook Live events. Brandon has been doing this for a career of 2 years and interested in the paranormal field since a child growing up in a haunted home. So you can check out their page on Facebook, Paranormal in the Funhouse, and their store at paranormalinthefunhouse.myspreadshop.com. So please, let's welcome Brandon to the show. Yay!
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be on here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Awesome. You got quite a resume. We're watching some of your stuff out there. I mean, you do some amazing work. And we always like to ask our guests, how did you get started within paranormal? Let's take us back on the clock.
Well, it all started growing up, man, in the paranormal, just being around paranormal activity growing up in Maryland, Pasadena, Maryland. There was this house that was just really unusual from like friends, the family having weird experiences, from being pinned down in the bed to hearing people in the attic. Just there was some creepy stuff. And growing up, it kind of just, I was plagued by it. And then I started watching Ghost Adventures and seeing what they did, watching people on Travel Channel. So it grew an interest in it. And then as I got older, the biggest thing got to me was when my brother passed away. I think that's where I found myself trying to communicate to him. So then at some point when I left doing gaming, I ended up just trying this for a career. We were just doing some live streams. And ever since, man, I've just been intrigued by it, trying to find out what happens when we pass on. So it's a little bit of everything, watching shows, growing up around it, and just being interested in it.
Now, you had a really interesting childhood. You tell us a little bit about the house that you grew up with, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so it's weird, man. The guy that used to live there before we moved into the house, they claimed that this guy was a little weird. He was celebrating Halloween like it was every day. He wasn't right, but I could see why they were skeptic over him and why he was kind of strange, because that house will make you strange. Like my brother would stay in my room, the room that I had, and I thought it was just anxiety, but there was like people talking in the attic. The little attic where you walk into it would be moved randomly. The glass in the window shattered before. I had experiences where I called the police thinking somebody was breaking into our house as a child, but nobody was in there. Our dog growling. The one thing that he was growling at down in the basement a lot, I could never understand what it was. They all believed there's a story about his wife being murdered in Pasadena. The guy lived there before us, but it's just hard to explain. I've been trying to wrap my head around what happened as I got older, and still can't quite figure what was causing all this. I had experience with the Greys. I don't know a whole bunch about the Greys, but I believe that's what I saw. Tall gray figure standing over the bed, had sleep paralysis as a kid. And, ever since I've been battling anxiety because of that location. I want to go back there and investigate it now that I'm older and film there and do a documentary there. But there's nobody living there. I can't get in touch with anybody that owns the property now. So it's just a lot of weird things.
That's interesting, the Greys, because I've had an experience too that you said that. They were tall back in 2007. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Trying to figure out what's the difference between this paranormal and these other beings, and it's kind of ironic. It's like you're like a lighthouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow you're like one of those people they know. That's interesting. What happened with the Greys? Anything?
Oh man, so I remember. So the vision I have, what I remember as a kid was, I was looking for my mom because I was, think at the time, man, I was in the room and she had to come in there because I had a bad panic attack. So it was weird. It was like waking up in a dream state, and I felt like I was sedated, kind of like you were tranquilized. So everything was blurry. It felt weird. I was looking around for her, wasn't sure where she was. And I just remember above me, tall gray figures, big eyes. And my fear when I was a child was always aliens. I don't know why. And I don't know if it was something demonic taking shape or form of what I was afraid of, or it could have been the Greys. I just remember it was just gray, tall figures, and their eyes were huge. And I'll never forget that feeling and seeing them. It was weird, man. But the sedation part, I definitely remember. And it felt like you couldn't move too much. So
that's really, really interesting. I had a similar experience. I find that interesting. A lot of people would believe that the Greys or aliens are demons, but that's not true at all, because look at the footage that NASA's getting right now, and they're, soon off the cuff to releasing something.
Yeah.
So demons don't build spacecrafts.
Aliens. I definitely believe I would love to learn more about aliens and stuff like that, man. And step out of the ghost realm for once and look into it. I've been interested in it. And I think, I always had a big fear of it. I don't know why. I had a big fear of that, but talking to the dead, not so much,
Yeah, well, because it's a different creature on the earth that can come through some kind of opening. It's interesting. Yeah. I guess we'll find out as time goes on.
Yeah, there's definitely some more things out there than we know.
But it's interesting because again, a lot of people have ghost experience and encounters with the Greys, and the cryptids. So talk about the most unique paranormal experience that you had, compelling evidence. I'm trying to go between the both of these.
Most compelling, we captured so much stuff over time. I would probably, man, I think it's kind of weird, I guess, because I wouldn't say it's most compelling, but compelling to the story of the goat man. So like when we're at Crybaby Bridge, a lot of people are using ghost hunting equipment, right, to detect things, to capture things. Well, one thing that we had was a walkie-talkie on us. And I think it was weird because all the stories about a man being there takes shape of a goat or whoever it may be, whatever it may be, we were looking for. Now, up to this point, we got a lot of evidence that shows for a fact there was a woman and child there, matches up the story of Crybaby Bridge. But the goat man thing, walkie-talkie went off. Instead of my spirit box and using a piece of equipment, walkie-talkie ended up going off, and it was the sound of a goat like baying or whatever noise they make, right? So I think that was craziest thing. That's kind of like where I got attention to our show. because of that. So I would say I was the most compelling to the story of the Goat Man and Crybaby Bridge. It was just strange. I couldn't explain it. We were doing spirit communication, but the walkie-talkie in my hip went off, and it was the sound of a screaming goat. And I couldn't figure out how that happened or why it happened, but it matched up to the story, man, of a cryptid, and it wasn't using any like ghost hunting equipment. It was a walkie-talkie.
And that was in season 1, right? That you guys
Yeah,
did that?
yeah.
Episode?
We did season 1. We did part 1, and then we did part 2 in season 2. But we've been there a few more times for like live events too. But yeah, this happened in season 1, and that was like before I joined Paraflix. We actually had that clip out, and everybody went crazy about it. So the Goat Man story was very compelling to me. I didn't believe much into the Goat Man story at first. I believed in the paranormal activity they had there and the woman and baby, but hearing a goat screaming through your walkie-talkie doesn't happen every day, and that was strange, man.
That's definitely.
There was an image caught there too, though. Somebody captured an image.
We got an image here, a picture, and in fact, I'll send it to you when the show's over.
In 2017, yeah.
It looks like the Goat Man. I mean, I don't know really what it is.
Yeah, well, you see the horns and it looks like a goat. So
it
isn't the Goat Man legend from Maryland?
Yeah, urban legend in Maryland. It goes out throughout Maryland from like the Bowie area. Like there's crybaby bridges all over the place, but the Goat Man comes from Fletchertown originally, Fletchertown, Maryland. And then we were in Bowie. That was the big crybaby bridge. That was the one where they spot Goat Man out the most, and where they believe that they would find victims of his there and just corpses laying around. There's so many stories with him. So he goes throughout all Maryland, man. And they even spotted him a few times around this place called Forest Haven Asylum. But I think that night, man, we experienced something that sounded like him. I can't explain it, man, but yeah.
It sounds crazy.
That's interesting. It kind of like reminds me of like when someone crosses over and then somehow they come back and they don't want to leave the location that they lived in.
Yeah.
And then paranormal teams go in there and get pictures, and there are similar pictures that you try to make out, is it that family that lived there? And you have Goat Man, where it's not a physical, tangible being, but it's spiritual because it's seen in various places. Yeah. And it's a similar form, just it's a goat. But the Goat Man, I think the legend of Goat Man was, the Goat Man's supposed to be evil, correct?
Yeah.
Like I know that was one of the 72 demons that were mentioned in the book.
Yeah, he definitely mentions a lot about the Goat Man being evil, and I believe that if there was such thing as the Goat Man there before us, he would be gone now. And I believe that we were getting them in the afterlife. I think that's kind of what happened. Yeah.
That makes sense. Wow.
So Saturday you guys were at the Haunted Historic Inn in Maryland.
Yeah. Maryland Inn at the Historic Inn, yeah.
How was that? You guys did a really good job from what we watched. How was that for you?
I appreciate it. We've been there a few times. That was another place that got pretty popular and where we kind of grew a fan base around. They're called the Historic Inns. There's 3 hotels connected towards each other in the same block of the historic Annapolis, downtown Annapolis. They have the Calvert House, Robert Johnson House, and the Maryland Inn. My favorite is the Maryland Inn. I did an episode there. We did a couple experiments there in the past. I wanted to bring our new sensitive, our medium, Elizabeth, there for the first time, and then bring our sponsor with me. We wanted a live event. I was like, let's go back in the past. It was great. I've gotten more activity there in the past. I've been there a lot. I mean, you can only capture so much, but it was cool for the new people watching us to have that experience, never got to see it, and for the people around us in person. I think it was interesting. Less activity, but it still has the same feeling when you walk in. It's weird. Maryland has a certain scent that you just always remember. So there's this fragrance smell in the air that people pick up a lot. They believe is the woman. I still smell that. Walking in the hallways, I still feel the vertigo. and I feel the heaviness when you walk in there. I didn't feel like the bride was, there's a story about the bride being there. I didn't feel like she was really active that night, but Captain Charles Campbell, he was active and he introduced himself, I think, to Elizabeth and Stacy again. He was supposed to be getting married to the bride, and he passed away by getting hit by a horse and carriage out front. And then the bride ended her life by jumping off the fourth floor. It was a great place, man. Anybody that's into history or paranormal, that's a place for you to go. It was a little less active than usual, but you can still feel it. You can feel everything.
That story's been on as a documentary. I heard of that story.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I remember just growing up hearing about it. The Maryland Inn Hotel. I think it was a different name before, but I'm not sure.
The husband died, and then she committed suicide, and then her ghost, was been seen. Do you think, as you're doing these investigations in a case like that, for example, is it residual energy or is it active, intelligent at the same time, responding to some of the things you may be asking on your equipment?
I think with some places, I think when I first went to the Maryland Inn for the first time, it felt active. It felt like everything was intelligent and it was happening now. The last few times, it just felt residual. I felt like I was just picking up more or less things that were like blood stains, residual energy stains, and it's just still there. It never goes away. So it's just something from the past repeating itself. That's what it feels like recently. The first time I was there, maybe because it was a new experience, I felt like it was more intelligent and happening now,
And as far as like capturing something that you can say, like EVPs, for example, are you getting a full recording of a voice that's not coming through some kind of static box, but like a digital recorder, like I'm here. Can you hear me? Yes, they respond. I can hear you. Something like that.
Yeah, we always try to do EVP burst sessions or whatever sessions we can. I know at the Maryland Inn, I'm trying to think what we just got the other night. Now we did get we got some EVPs that I felt it was like more residual. We've gotten EVPs at the Maryland Inn quite a few times, whether it may be an intelligent answer or it sounds like something I'm hearing from the past. But in any investigations I go to, man, that's actually becoming one of my favorites again, EVP, digital EVP recorders, because it shows more proof instead of using just a spirit box that everyone uses. The EVPs are more compelling to me, actually. And with this season that we're doing, and recently I noticed we're getting a lot more unexplainable voices, but intelligent ones. It's insane. And for the skeptics out there that are watching, especially when it's live, I'm like, explain what we just captured in this quiet place. There's nobody else around. We're all quiet. If there's no traffic outside, right? So you can't say, oh, somebody outside, whatever. And we get something. It's just crazy. I like when skeptics watch us, so I can prove them wrong.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, a spirit box. I mean, I could try to debunk. Could try. But an actual EVP from a digital recorder, you really can't debunk that, because what are you going to say? There's a transmission from a CB coming through on a scanner. Well, it's not. You're getting an intelligent response to a question, and a voice coming from nowhere. You cannot debunk that. That's a fact. That's
especially when we're live. That's why I like doing live events for people that don't believe in it. Man, especially doing stuff like that live. And because you could say, oh, we recorded our voice over it or did something like that, but when we're doing it live and we're able to show you live, man, it's not like film or whatever. It's great. It feels great to show people like this is real, man. This is legit. Yeah, it's kind of debunk proof. I feel like through a digital recorder, man.
You really can't debunk that. I mean, pictures can be optical illusions, and spirit boxes can be. You try to make out what they're saying, but not a digital recording. You just can't debunk that. So, which leads me to a question: have you ever seen things happen that are unnatural, like toys going off without batteries, or electronic devices, like a cell phone or computers doing things that they should not be doing, or your keys disappearing?
Yeah, well, actually, the place that I'm staying at now, the hotel, two of our rooms, one of the rooms, 206, that I've been here for almost 2 years. One crazy thing happened was So we had no ceiling fans. The only thing we have is air conditioning, and that's against the wall, and it doesn't blow too heavy. We had a Gatorade bottle. I think it was full. I was actually live. We were actually live, and it kind of captured it. It was weird. We had some poltergeist activity with the Gatorade bottle near the television. Ended up being it just flew off. My fiance was sleeping through all of it. Everything got heavy in her room, so that was really weird because I wasn't investigating and I wasn't expecting it, and it freaked us out a little bit. So but in like investigations, I've had some of our equipment without batteries have turned on before. Some of the REM pods have done it. So it wasn't the first time experiencing poltergeist or unexplained events where something turns on without batteries. I could definitely say in the house that I grew up in, Pasadena, I experienced it a lot. Like I said, the attic would move, and I'm not tall enough to reach it, and nobody else is there at the time. You're watching it move. It would shake a lot. But yeah, I don't know if I ever captured really poltergeist activity on camera other than when I was live and we witnessed the Gatorade bottle fly off, and that was kind of spooky because it was the first time really looking at it and seeing it happen. Um, and I believe that at the time, I think we were getting done season one, and I think I had a few attachments with me. So we left, I think it was Crybaby Bridge, actually, maybe a day or two after. So I was kind of wondering if something followed us from there and started doing that. But we've been on live events before where the fans would watch and they would say they seen things move, maybe that I didn't see. But yeah, it's hard to catch, but it's a great thing to catch. I can tell you that because you can't explain it.
That's true. It's hard to catch certain things, but when you catch it, it's like wow, And I always tell people, when we do investigations, take pictures when you don't want to take pictures. And they would say, well, why? Because there's a power of thought that some of these things can actually trick you and deceive you. When you say, well, I should take a picture. No, just keep taking pictures all around you. Yeah. You never know. And sometimes you get things that, hey, I'm glad I got this behind me because I didn't want to do this picture. And it's scary in a way, right? Because you're being watched. Yeah. They're observing. And it's an active intelligence of a being that was once. Or my question to you would be, is some of these things possibly mimicking the human form?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I believe that some of them are mimicking us. And, man, I mean, that's happened a few times. It's like where you're talking, you think you're talking, for example, you think you're talking to a child, but you're not. And it's pretending to be a kid. I do think that happens a lot. That's happened quite a lot to us in the beginning of our season, where pretending to be somebody else, basically, whether it was in a photo or their voice. That's happened a lot. So I do believe that that's true. I know some investigators may not, but I believe it happens. I mean, usually I do think it's darker energy when it comes to that, and they're mimicking and pretending to be somebody else, especially a child. That happened in Glen Burnie haunting we did. Thought we were talking to a kid. It was really the same dark entity that was down in their basement, just coming upstairs, pretending to be somebody new.
Yeah, there's a lot. They're very tricky, and we've had a lot of the mimicking and the photos taken here. Wow. If we have pictures of me, the kids.
Well, yeah, I heard my wife's voice, but at one point she wasn't in the area where I was hearing the voice. So that mimicking, that's the scariest thing, right? Because now you have to say to yourself, look, as a paranormal investigator, why are they doing this? The other side, why? What's the reason for that? Is it like they're using us as bait to use our energy and trick us and deceive us? Yeah. What's the motive on the spiritual side behind doing that? Your thoughts?
Oh man, I don't. I asked myself that question. I don't know if it's to scare us. Maybe to scare us, or maybe they get a joy out of it. I don't know. I think that's still unanswered for me. But I guess I'm just gonna say, yeah, I think it's just to put fear in us, maybe to make us leave, get out, stop doing what we're doing. But definitely the fear. I feel like it's putting fear in us. They, because they do say evil entities, feed off your fear, so maybe that's one of the reasons. But yeah, I hope I can find that answer, or somebody can. I don't feel like it's completely answered. At least not for me. I've experienced mimicking, but it just put more fear in me than anything else.
Yep. That's scary.
That is scary. You rang on something you said a little bit earlier, was you had sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Man, I always thought it was a health issue, and I don't even really think doctors know what it is. I've had it growing up in Pasadena. That's when I first started experiencing it, and I still get it off and on once in a blue moon, where you're in the bed, and so you're about to go to sleep, or you wake up, your eyes are open, but your body's asleep, right? You can't move. I can't move anything. It's like you're paralyzed. It's scary. It feels like I'm gonna stop breathing or die. It's like sleep paralysis just makes your body numb. You're completely still. You want to scream out for help. There's been times where I want to do that. I couldn't even do that. It goes away very quickly, but it feels like it lasts forever due to the fact the way you feel. It's very scary, but people can say it could be a health issue. I believe that it's something they give something dark sitting on top of your chest. I always looked into people's stories, and it always had some paranormal stories behind it or some activity behind it. And, my first experience was in a house that was definitely haunted. And now that I've been doing this for a career, coming home from these places, I'll experience it again once in a while. I feel like it could be something holding you down, pinning you down. I guess you could say it could be a lot, but it's scary, man, because you can't move.
Yeah, I truly believe 1,000,000% it's paranormal. It's not a form of a brain dysfunction of medications, because there's been way too many cases of people within the paranormal community who've had these experiences, and they're saying just what you said. It's paranormal related. Maybe there are cases that are medically related, but for the most part, from what you're saying, I've heard. And, the movie The Fourth Kind that came out years ago, one of the people in that movie, I think it was the daughter or the mom, had sleep paralysis, and then he said he's seen the Greys.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
It was a great movie. Is there a tie-in to this whole correlation of these other beings? And sleep paralysis was supposedly the myth of incubus, succubus holding you down, and these were sex demons. But then there's also these alien encounters that people have the sleep paralysis. Communion, the movie, another one, where they're having it as well, after seeing or thought they may have seen another being, another life form of like the Greys, for example. That is interesting, right?
It is. I wish, I don't know, like be able to prove something, like some evidence, capture some evidence when it happens. But so you never know with sleep paralysis, you never know when you're gonna get it. So it's not like when you should have a camera filmed on you. I would like to. Sounds weird, but I like to document it and kind of see what happens, man. Who knows? Who knows, man? It's some people said incubus, succubus type things. I just believe it has something to do with the supernatural. That's for sure.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. There's a lot of things that we try to understand, right, as investigators, that you try to dissect, and a lot of these locations have both activity, whereas it's like alien and paranormal. And you really try to dissect and separate the both. Like, why would you having both? Some places may just be like on the energy line where there's a perfect storm, right? Where there's enough energy coming through that it can open up a portal or vortex, and anything could be possible. So speaking of that, shapeshifters, shadow people, what's your thoughts?
I never really experienced it. We thought in season 1 we were at a place in Virginia, if I can remember where it is, private residence. There was claims of shapeshifters. I never really experienced it myself, but we thought it was. I was still kind of a rookie then anyways, but yeah, I mean, there were stories behind the fact where they said that it's what it is. Shapeshifters are here. And, I always thought it was like a native thing. I always thought it had something to do with Native American stuff, but man, I never got to experience it. I just heard the stories there. Never really captured anything of it, but I would love to learn more about shapeshifters and kind of see what it's like, my perspective, seeing it, if it's real. I've heard stories, but it was always, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always heard it with like Native American stories, shapeshifters.
Well, yeah, they consider that the skinwalkers.
Yeah, basically that.
The tribe would do these ceremonies and use false face masks to scare off the rivals, but somehow they had a connection to the underworld of spiritualism, and, which they do. And is it possible there's a connection where they can do these things and curse land? I kind of believe it in a way, because look at all these haunted locations. Some of them, what's Skinwalker Ranch, for example? There's enough people to go there.
Definitely.
I've talked about that before. I would like to go there. Skinwalker Ranch. Oh yeah.
I mean, there's just so much going on over there.
There's a lot. It's like exciting for me. It makes my adrenaline rush.
Wow. What about the shadow people? From the
shadow people?
Yes.
So yeah, so like a black mass or a shadow. Some people may think that's dark. It could be both. My opinion, it could be both. I mean, there's places we go and we captured something, and there's dark energy there from what you captured, the feelings, the experiences you had, and I can match that dark mass, the black mass or shadow figure, to what we just captured and saying it's dark. But you can also capture it and say it's just a spirit. I don't always think it means it's dark. Maybe a few times we encountered, like in Glen Burnie, the black mass they see, the dark figure they see. Yeah, it was dark. They weren't lying. But I've captured at Grand Midway Hotel before a black mass shadow figures, and nothing felt evil or dark there. Not to me, or I couldn't match up the evidence to it. But a lot of people will tell you that a black mass or the dark shadow in the room, is the boogeyman. It's dark. It's a dark entity. I don't always believe that.
Yeah.
It's a big question. You really don't know up until you have experience. You said you had an attachment. Did the attachment come through any kind of a dream state where you seen someone in a dream that you didn't recognize in the physical world, but it was after an investigation?
I have had things like that before. That was Crybaby Bridge. I did, man. I thought it was just because I spent so much time there. That's why I was dreaming about it. I remember seeing in a dream baby and seeing a woman in the past, and I never seen them before in person or seen them before in a dream. I've had, several encounters. I should start writing these down. Actually, it would be quite interesting. I think a few times, man. Crybaby Bridge, I don't know if I had a dream of the goat man, but it was always more or less the woman and baby. And I never put two and two together and thought that's what those were. Or after we leave a place, we just get a very vivid dream. So like after that live stream we did recently, my fiance, Stacy, co-investigator of our show, just had a dream after investigating there of something really scary, something I died in a dream, and she felt like that could be something related due to that investigation. Just, I'm curious about that too. Now she brought that up. What a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence, because a lot of investigators that we interview say that in the dream, after a day or two after an investigation, or even that current night when they go to sleep, that there's people there and things that they think came from that location. And we all know that the dream state is the most meditative state. So that if a spirit's saying, hey, you came to my home, now I'm going to go through yours, through the mind, through the consciousness, it's interesting. And then is it possible that some of these beings or entities may not be so friendly, and then they are possibly causing the sleep paralysis as well, where they're holding you down? I've had that experience years ago, and I know it's frightening when you can't turn, you can see, but you can't move, and you feel like you keep getting pulled into it with the pins and needles, and that is, quite frankly, that's very scary. And why I say it's not medical is because the bedroom door shut when no one was home, usually in the living room.
Wow.
And the door shut by itself, and I felt like that was it. This thing just hovered over me, weighed me down. I couldn't breathe, and all of a sudden, I was like frozen in time. Only I could see, but they could hold you down. These things. So it's interesting.
I believe it. That's why I would like to document it.
Yeah, how the spirits can do these things, we go out there and investigate and say, well, I could do this and I could do that and I can capture a picture, EVP, and they're probably saying, well, let's show you what we could do.
Yeah.
You know, in their own form, like we're going to be in your dreams, like a Freddy Krueger type of thing. And I tell you,
I think I probably had more dreams about some of the investigations that we did afterwards. They say you don't remember all your dreams, and now it makes you wonder how many times have they visited us in our dreams afterwards, and we just don't remember.
It's true.
That's most definitely
That happens to me a lot. I can't really remember too many of my dreams. But I have a question. So Stacy, your fiance, you guys blindfolded her on Saturday in the investigation. Can you tell us why?
Oh man, yeah, she's standing right there. Actually, we blindfold her a lot. Recently in the new season, we've been doing it. So we do the Estes method. I learned about the Estes method like everybody else, watching somebody and learning about it. So, or the SB7 experiment is what they call it. So you could close off your senses. You put them in a room. You use noise canceling headphones or some type of headphones. You put that on them, blindfold, whatever you got. So they're not hearing anything on the outside. They're not seeing anything. So now you can't see or hear. Your senses are closed off. I feel like you're more sensitive around you to touch. Now we're going to use a spirit box. So sometimes, so we'll put a spirit box on her, and I might stand far away from her on the other side of the building or down the street or another room, and I'll use a walkie-talkie or not use anything, and I'll just talk and ask questions, and it'll be filming on one side for me and the other side for her. So that way I can hear what she's getting. If they can hear me from a distance, it's really interesting thing, man, because some of the responses we get, she can't hear us, right? And she's telling us some of the answers we're getting through the spirit box. It's just like crazy. When I first tried it, I wasn't sure how it was going to work, but that's why we do it for the Estes method. Or sometimes we do it because, well, we got to see what happens when you're alone and you can't feel or see. And it's a scary feeling. I've only done it a couple times, but we draw names, and usually it's her. So
wow,
for that.
That's a pretty good experiment. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love it, especially when you use a spirit box. So let's say I'm talking in the walkie-talkie from across the building, and she can't hear. We always test it out. The spirit box is blasting. Noise cancellation, headphones on top of that, so she can't hear. And she just picked up the spirit voice saying whatever to answer me from down there through the walkie-talkie. It's cool, man. It's something you could try. It's hard. We brought a skeptic on our show to do it, and he couldn't explain it. He heard my name too. I let him do the Estes method, and he heard my name, and it's an interesting thing.
I think I seen something like that on Destination Fair, where they were in one of the buildings, and one of them got called through on the walkie-talkie, but it wasn't that person. That's kind of interesting.
It's a great idea.
Do you think that spirits are everywhere? Like anywhere could be haunted. We call it haunted, right? But let's just say the active world. Like you can go out into the middle of a street and use your equipment and capture things. Is that possible?
I think I can go to McDonald's down the street right now and capture a ghost. I think so. Yeah. I think they're always around us. I think just more places are more active than the others. Some show themselves, some don't. And, we talked about that before. And that's what we're doing with this season. We're going to places that may have a lot of history, but not really known for hauntings. So I can experience something new and everybody else can. Because a lot of people repeat themselves and go back to these big name locations because of the stories. But I want to prove that you can go anywhere with history, without it, and show that there is activity. There is spirits that just don't show themselves and not as noticeable as much, but you can find them. And that's what I'm trying to do with this season.
It's true.
I would agree with that.
So let's talk about your show. How did the show come together?
Well, I was a professional gamer on Microsoft, a horror content creator. I loved horror. Well, when Microsoft traded me off to Facebook, the gaming thing, I got tired of doing it as a career, and it wasn't working out. So when I got into doing live investigations, people started noticing and seeing it. So we said, let's do episodes and put them on Facebook. I'm a partner with them. Let's try making a web series with Facebook or something and do this. But it was working out, but also wasn't. For a second, I wasn't sure if I was going to keep doing it. but I ended up getting noticed in groups by people. Natalie Jones, CEO of Paraflix, and she had this great idea that her and a few other people put their minds together, and they were like working on a network, basically Netflix, but the paranormal. And she contacted me and was like, I love what I saw on Facebook. Would you like to work with us? We're about to release this TV network. A lot of great things about to happen. So she came across me. But I gotta give props to, the groups on Facebook for sharing us out like that, or we wouldn't have gotten noticed. And
Wow.
I was like, I took a gamble. I wanted to try it. The network wasn't out yet, and it's grown already like so much. It's on Roku and stuff now. At first, it was just on your phone. So it's cool. Basically, the Netflix of the paranormal. Us people that are into the paranormal world, and we love this stuff. Netflix doesn't carry a lot of that, and it's hard to find it, other than Discovery Plus and stuff. And at the time, man, it was pretty big, and I believe it's gonna be bigger. It's growing bigger. So yeah, I gotta say thanks to her. She came across us, found us. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Glenn Burney Haunting was at the time where I was ending it on Facebook as episodes, and that's where we got picked up right about then.
Congratulations, and you guys are on your third season, and
Thank
it's a
you.
great show. You're doing a great
Oh,
job.
thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we filmed a lot this season already, but editing and doing production, man, it takes forever. So I'm a little bit slower because I got some health issues stopping me, right? But I got so much more. This season is different from anything we've done. The places, the experiments, the feel of it, just watching it. So I think everybody would definitely enjoy it, and I really appreciate it.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have this ability to communicate through paranormal equipment, has any loved ones ever tried to communicate with you that you know?
Yeah, for sure, my brother. I mean, when this is all, one of the biggest reasons after he passed on, why I wanted to try to communicate more with people, because he was trying to communicate. It was a lot of experiences, whether it may be through a message that you noticed or activity in your room, to feeling him, sensing him, smelling him. There's a lot of ways that he was communicating. But I think that there has been people like friends of hers or friends of mine or family members that have passed on, just can't put a finger on who it is. Been trying to contact us more that we did do this now. Because I think after you pass on and you know somebody that does this for a living, you're gonna want to talk, right? So you're gonna go to them. So I think that's happening a lot over the past couple of years. But I think for sure, my brother, I just can't put a finger on who everyone is. Um, but it's interesting. I do think if you do this for a living, whether you're a sensitive or just an investigator, you're more open to it, you're more sensitive to it, so they come out and speak to you, and they know that you can give them a voice.
Yeah.
So that it's safe to say that someone who loses a loved one in the physical world, because of what you know, it's possible to communicate with those that have crossed over.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. So like it's not over when you're gone. It's not over, man. There's still life after death. I definitely believe that. Your family and loved ones aren't gone forever. It's upsetting because you lose them in the physical world. You can't see them anymore. You can't talk to them, but it's not true. You actually can. There's ways to do it. I know people feel different about it, like whether they want to get in contact with them or not, but they might come talk to you. It's definitely true. I've experienced it. I know a lot of people that have.
I definitely agree. Look for the signs. I believe the spirit world is very active, and those that cross over, you can feel sometimes. Even songs. A lot of the things are songs.
Say that.
They come from songs.
Oh yeah, it's like subliminal messaging, kind of, right? That they send you sometimes. My brother's at first was actually a bird. It was a cardinal. It sounds crazy. I didn't know that there was actually a definition for a cardinal that's supposed to be your loved ones. I didn't know anything about it until I found out. But it was him. It was. I remember it hitting my apartment window a couple of times after he passed on. I ignored it, brought it up to Stacy. Then I seen a cardinal every morning the first month after he passed on outside. And then when I left, it was following me around the first few months after his death. And now I don't see him as much, but I could tell it was him. That's why we have a cardinal at his grave now. I know it was him. So your family can reach out to you in many ways: music, animals, or actual activity, as that happened with us too, where they get, you can hear them or feel them. So a lot of ways.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I had a near-death experience myself in 1981, and I just started talking about it recently, and I could tell you that what you're saying is correct. There is an open communication, but it's just a little bit different than the way we try to perceive it, because that side is just different. But through the consciousness, we can make communication, and that leads me to some of the things like how we try to communicate with spirits and loved ones, and then this mimicking. Then you have shadow people, shapeshifters. It just seems like there's a lot going on within the physical realm once you cross through that veil, which leads me to probably one of my few questions of the black-eyed children. Your thoughts?
You said black-eyed children, man.
Yes.
It sounds creepy. I never like really experienced or seen like a child that would look like that. You know, when I hear black-eyed children, I mean, first thing you're gonna think of is, dude, that's a demon or dark. So, my honest opinion, then maybe I think that's what it is. Something demonic taking shape of a kid. That's what I'm gonna say, because I haven't seen it yet. But I don't know if I would want to. I don't know.
Definitely would not want to see that.
Yeah, some of these things you don't want to see. I mean, because you really don't know how we're going to handle it, right? I mean, especially if it's face value in front of you, you don't know if you're going to have a heart attack or, and talking about, this is something I want to talk to you about. I find this very, very important. I've been doing these interviews for years, and I don't think it's coincidence. A lot of people, including myself, have medical conditions that came out during, after, a year after investigating. And now we do talk about factual things that spirits, negative entities can make off, things go off, on and affect electricity and toys and the mind and the sleep paralysis. So is it possible that the spirit world, if they are some sort of malevolent, the way they use our energy in the physical realm, we get tied during investigations, or batteries are drained during investigations, is it just possible that they can all be taking us out slowly? Because there's a lot of people that unfortunately are not alive anymore within the paranormal that we've spoken to that were okay, but it just seems like some of the investigations are like tag-alongs, like there are these things that don't leave them. And I just want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so for real quick, I don't know if I heard you right, but you said you had health issues over time after doing these investigations too?
True.
So see, I hear that a lot, and I believe that. So I had health issues prior to this, but I gotta say I've gotten worse, and it's weird. I actually been questioning that, if this is slowly draining me like it does your equipment, like a battery, my health. My lungs have gotten so much worse, and I've been very careful about protecting my face when I go to these old dusty places and stuff with my asthma, and I know that it's not that. And it's weird. It has been slowly declining, and I'm noticing a pattern, and I'll get messages all the time where people are like, are you cleansing? Are you doing this and that? We're doing all the proper steps, but it is possible. I do think over time that you're drained. We are a battery, if you think about it. We're being drained. Because I don't know if you guys have it, but I have paranormal hangovers all the time. I know I'm being drained. Yeah. So, but the health thing, I think everybody's just got to know when you step in this field that there's a chance you take with your health. I can't say if it's for a fact they do decline your health or not. But from my experience, yes, you're being drained for sure. And my health has gotten worse. And I do believe that it could be attachments, or it just could be from all the life they're sucking out of you,
Well, look, let's face it. Look, the reality is they can drain a battery, right? You've seen equipment go dead, and you can't explain it, and it happens at these locations. So what do you think is happening to you after the battery goes dead? You think they're saying, okay, well, I'm going to leave him alone? When you talk about the paranormal hangover, that's affecting us.
Yeah.
Right? So now they're using us because we're energy as well.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I think it's so interesting and widespread that I just I had blood work done after one investigation. I was very tired and fatigued, and the vitamin D was so low they couldn't understand why. It was like, yeah, like that was being drained out of me. Something was depleting me. So couldn't it be an attachment that these things just say, hey, I want to use this person as an energy vampire, and not leave them alone. It's still to be determined, but it's so interesting.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does, and a lot of people probably feel different about it. I get messages all the time. I won't say every little health issue I get is from it, but I can definitely tell over time. I mean, the past 2 years it's declined. I do say that my lungs gotten worse. I've had some more stuff, but they're definitely draining you without effect. You are a battery in these situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been a fast show, a good show, and a very, very knowledgeable show.
They always go so fast.
Hey, well, I'm glad to be on here. I loved it. I got to finally meet you guys, and now I can start coming by and watching your shows. You guys have so many links. I get to watch and listen to you guys all over the place that I'm excited for Funhouse fans to come by and meet you. It was a great opportunity. I wish I could be on the PC, better setup for you guys, but internet.
No, you look good. In fact, you and I were talking maybe one day. You're not too far away. You could actually come to the Horsefly Chronicles home in East End, Pennsylvania.
Well, we go to PA a lot, man, and we'll be filming some more in PA this season, so I would love to.
Yeah, and experience things that are unknown. All right, so where can people find you, and what do you have going on?
Well, for everybody who doesn't know, my nickname is still Fun Uniform. It's because I was a professional gamer. It just stuck around. And they won't let me change my name on Facebook yet. So I'm big. I'm a partner on Facebook. I'm big time always on Facebook. I'm never on really other social medias. So you're going to find me on Facebook.com/fununiform is what we'll do, like live investigations, our events, keep you updated with their show. And then there's a group called Paranormal in the Funhouse. You can literally just Google Paranormal in the Funhouse. You'll find us on Paraflix. You'll find anything we're featured on. Paraflix is easy, guys, man. You get on your phones, tablets, computers, Roku TV, and other amazing networks, man. And our show. Just don't forget our show's name, Paranormal in the Funhouse, and you'll find us. You'll find us. Just Google it.
Well, awesome. Thank you to you and your team for doing what you do out there, and thank you for coming on tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Awesome meeting you, and very knowledgeable.
Yep.
It's been a great show. All right, Julie. Thank you.
Special thank you to Carnation for sponsoring the show. We love them. Join us next Monday night at 8 p.m. at 105.3 FM from New Orleans. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great night.
Everyone have a safe, great night. We'll catch you next week. Thank you.